Okay, Jordan.
Adrian.
So we've been going on now in this process for is it 5 months or 4 months?
I started in November.
Yeah.
November, December, January. So that's 3 months we've completed.
Yeah.
We're going into our 4th month.
Yeah.
So
it feels
good chunk of time.
It feels much longer though.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I don't know. I feel like every day goes by so quickly, but then when you look at it as a whole, from where we've started
Yeah.
to where we are now, we've accomplished quite a bit and we've evolved a lot from the initial sketches or even just the initial like interview questions. A lot's happened between now and then. So yeah, I guess it does feel like it's been longer. And I kind of feel like I've been at CompEdge for longer as well.
Yeah.
It feels so natural and it feels like this is where I belong. So
yeah, because you've become a great part of the company now.
Well, thank you. It's a really exciting company to be a part of, and you guys all make it so easy for people to integrate themselves into it because you give them the freedom to create what they want, give them the freedom to be themselves, and so it's easy to kind of slip into the family member role, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's props to CompEdge.
Because how this started was that I was thinking, I think I told like Jonas and Hege that, okay, we need to rebuild our brand identity now. Because we had then been in business for about a little over a year. It was last fall. And just like the greats say, you need to, like every brand needs caring and investment.
Yeah.
And even though it's really far-fetched to compare yourself to Apple, but we are doing something unique. Therefore, I was thinking, okay, we need to hire a graphic designer. And then from hiring a graphic designer, I was thinking about, okay, maybe we should just buy that service. But then it came to me that because we're such a small company, it doesn't make sense to just buy a new logo or just buy a new color scheme or just buy some cool fonts. And it makes more sense to onboard a person who can just formulate the stuff that we cannot explain.
Right.
And there you came.
Yeah. It did seem like a really good fit at the time, for sure. And it's funny because you and I, this was my first role as a graphic designer as well, and your first time hiring a graphic designer. So for both of us going into this situation, not really knowing what to expect, I think it's gone so well, and we've learned from the mistakes, and we've been able to pivot, and we've been very agile in this process. And I think that we've learned so much, and I don't even really consider this role just to be a graphic designer anymore.
No,
it's
I
a
agree.
brand strategist, you know, everything from interior to content production, and now we're thinking forward, thinking ahead of what this role can evolve into, and it seems like the possibilities are endless. So it's so exciting to think about my first day and to think about even our interviews.
Yeah.
You know, I had no clue.
That was fun.
Yeah, it really was. I had never gone through an interview process that I could say was enjoyable, you know, and that genuinely was. And the fact that we both were on the same page of this role can turn into whatever we want it to be. This is going to grow as the company grows and as we grow as individuals. And I really love that about this role and CompEdge in general, you know?
Yeah.
It seems like even though, yes, we have what we consider to be a final product of a brand identity, just because we are done doesn't mean it's going to stop evolving, you know? We are going to continuously nitpick at it, and it's going to evolve with us as time goes on. So
yeah.
Another thing I really like about the identity is that it is scalable and it will change with us as we grow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And in terms of that, one of the things that we quickly understood is that this process is so much more than just building a freaking logo.
Yeah.
And we were looking at some really different stuff in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like you were coming up with all these ideas, and And almost every idea I kind of liked, but I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
It was just, it looks so much better than the stupid C. But what do you feel was the most challenging and fun part? Let's say the first 3 weeks where everything was, not in a structure.
New. Yeah. That might have been the challenge, the fact that there wasn't much structure. There wasn't an onboarding process that someone could sit me down and say, all right, this is how you do this is how you do that. You know, it was, I had to figure it out as I went, and you had to figure out me as this went on as well. You know, we were getting to know each other, we were getting to see how this process was going to go, and so kind of feeling each other out and feeling this process out was probably the first challenge we were faced with. And then once we kind of sat down and thought, okay, well, I need to fully understand who CompEdge is before we can move forward. I need to be able to dissect who CompEdge is in order to be able to build something that can represent CompEdge. So that gave us a good place to start. All right, we'll sit down, we'll have interviews with each other, we'll do mind mapping exercises, I'll interview everyone here in the company, and then the ball got rolling, don't you think? After those interviews and after those mind mapping sessions, we kind of felt like, all right, this has to represent everyone here.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the people here. Let's figure out who they are. Why are we here? What does our history say about the reason that we are here?
Yeah.
So that was really exciting, getting to learn about everybody and getting to learn their story and what is it that brings us all together here.
Yeah, and one of the, I think especially for me, one of the great things about the exercise that we did when you were interviewing people, coming from a completely different perspective, because you weren't part of the I would say the first group of people,
Right.
like 18 months ago.
Right.
So you got the chance to ask questions from an objective point of view, not subjective. And what I found was really somewhat touching or moving, was that a lot of the people here named the same stuff about the company, and that's one of the interesting things, I believe, when you're doing a work in terms of brand identity, is that even though the company that you're working with or working for does not have a visual identity, in order to create a formal brand identity, the company itself needs to have that core identity from the beginning anyways. Otherwise you're just fumbling in the dark, or just coming up with,
who are you at that point if you don't have something to identify with? And that's what I found really shocking about CompEdge, what you just said, is that for such a young company, you had a very concrete set of values and a corporate culture that everybody here could identify with. And they were telling me the same things over and over, essentially, because it was such a cohesive unit. CompEdge was such a cult. You all believed the same things. You all thought that you were here for the same reason, and you all felt that the positive things of CompEdge were the best part of them. Example, the freedom that everybody has here to truly create what they feel they are best at, and to explore new options and to grow as an individual, which then helps CompEdge grow, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody mentioned that it was a very creative and innovative atmosphere. And so it was great to see that as a company that, like you said, was only 18 months old, right? You had a solid set of values, a solid foundation for me to come in and build off of, to learn what that foundation meant, what that foundation represented, and then build on top of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was great to see. I have a list, remember, of
I know.
all of the words that everyone said and how many times people said those words, and most of them were like said 6 times, said 7 times, you know.
And what was so interesting is when we did that Open Dag workshop.
Oh yeah.
When you did the same exercise, the mind mapping exercise with our attendees and our followers. Some of them are fans. Most of them said many of the same words, which means that we as a company had been really, really good at communicating what we're doing and why we're doing stuff, and probably for many of them, most interestingly, how we are doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I find that really, really fascinating that we managed to do that. But one of the, or probably the most impressive thing that you managed was that you, and I remember when we documented that in NRM, when you had formulated a draft of the storyline. You remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, in order to do that, you need to be really, really sophisticated in the way you think, and you managed to build a story that every one of us could feel, even though you'd only been here for, what was it, 4 weeks? Or?
Yeah, it was after a short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, that goes to that it is attributed to the fact that you guys are great at, or I should say we are great at communicating our story, you know, with our community members, with the people here in the office. It's really impressive how well everyone actually grasps who CompEdge is. And it's funny because when I first moved here and I saw the job posting, I didn't necessarily know what CompEdge did at first, but I understood who you were at first because of the NRM series. I got what you were trying to represent, what you were trying to do. I didn't know how you made money, but I knew who you were, and I could tell what vibe you guys had in the office, and I could tell that it was a very go-getter kind of mentality here at CompEdge.
Yeah.
But so it was interesting to come in with a different perspective from a different culture and then dissect what was going on. That was a really beautiful moment that you, Hege, and I had in the meeting room after reading that.